Yeah. So welcome everyone. We are on week 4 this time, and 2 prayers we have for reflection. December 11, 1912. This is the one we are going to start with. So I'm hoping all of us have gone through the prayer at least once, if not twice. And we have something which we resonate with, or maybe there may be questions about the prayer. Maybe we are able to take up those questions if there are any, or just begin by sharing our reflections. So whoever is ready, Chitra ji, Jyotsna ji, Shweta is joining us for the first time. Whoever is ready, please begin by sharing your reflections. So Chitra ji is waiting for Jyotsna ji, and Jyotsna ji is waiting for Chitra ji. Okay, great.
Tradition Chitradi starts today. Next time I'll do.
No, please go ahead. It's okay. It doesn't matter who starts. Really, it doesn't matter. It should not matter actually, just go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to read it, no?
Your wish, if you wish to read it, why not?
Okay.
Please.
December 11th, 1912. I await without haste, without inquietude, the tearing of another veil, the union made more complete. I know that the veil is formed of a whole mass of small imperfections, of attachments without number. How shall all these disappear? Slowly, as the result of countless small efforts and a vigilance, not faltering even for a moment or suddenly, through a great illumination of Thy All Puissant Love. I know not, I do not even put to myself the question. I wait, keeping watch as best as I can in the certitude that nothing exists save Thy will, that Thou alone art the doer and I am the instrument. And when the instrument is ready for a completer manifestation, the manifestation will quite naturally take place. Already, there is heard from behind the veil the wordless symphony of gladness that reveals Thy sublime presence. I resonate with this very strongly because I await, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And basically, I think one of the most detrimental things, which is a stopper to our progress, is that we are in a hurry. So she emphasizes without haste and without inquietude. And the tearing, for the union to be complete, it requires these two things, is what I understood. And at a personal level, I have a long way to go, yes, but I've started to try. It's the small things that make the big whole. And though sometimes I too do feel that suddenly maybe, a great illumination will come. But then you got to be ready for it. And within my heart, I know that I'm not ready. So I think it is the karta dharta role. Karta wo hai, dharte hum hai. And when we are ready for the complete manifestation, the manifestation, I am convinced, will naturally take place. Mother says that there is heard from behind the veil the wordless symphony of gladness. Well, I have a conviction, but I haven't heard anything or known. It's just a conviction that it's there, of the sublime presence. It's a beautiful prayer, and um, somehow I resonated because sometimes our vigilance drops. Despite all the effort, we for many moments we drop our vigilance, and I think that is the reason why we stagger so much. Thanks.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. So, anyone who wants to share next? Chitra ji, if you're ready, please
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah.
I'll go. Yeah. Because I took some time because I got a call actually, so I finished that and then I joined.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry
No,
for
no issue.
yeah. Actually, without haste and without inquietude, same thing I also resonated actually. Because in the initial stages, no, I feel after you have a real turn towards the divine life, there might be some expectation, some fascination, as if we arrived the goal and all. But actually, everything is an emerging joy. That is actually when first time you face the divine and turn to divine life. So it will be like that. That mood will be. But if any blow comes after that, that time it starts actually, mind starts, all the opposing tendencies arose, why it happened. But it will take again long time to realize, no, it is not like that. There are so many things too. I mean, as mother explained about the attachments, no, without number. Yeah, these attachments we won't, I mean, in my experience I don't even know these are attachments which are pulling us. These are the real impediments in the path. Even I didn't know that actually. After a long time only I realized these are attachments, because I thought it is natural to have, I mean, attachments with family members, close relatives and all. Then I realized it is not. So that inquietude and haste, that time it came actually. With attachments and all, we want to go in the path also, but it will pull you again and again. So that is the real problem I faced actually, as mother told. Because how shall all this disappear? Yeah, this is a very good question, mother. Yeah, is for us. I think for the sake of us, she raised this question. I felt like that. And also that vigilance, she also talked about vigilance. No, yeah, that must be there always. That vigilance must be there. But how it would go, yeah, as some other mentioned, great illumination of thy all puissant love. I used to call it grace. Yeah, only the grace of mother would, I mean, relieve us from all those attachments or all those, I mean, connected with those, all the events towards that attachment and all, actually. And also again, mother gave the assurance, if you wait, keeping watch as best as can, so that complete manifestation would take place. Yeah, that waiting is also a very important. That waiting really insist upon that not to be haste or inquietude should not be there. That waiting. Now, yeah, after a long time, I realized, and now I can say I am really very quiet and without any haste. I can say that actually, yeah, it is there in me now. Yeah. Then, as usual, mother ended with the very nice note in the last. Already there is heard from behind the veil the wordless symphony of gladness that reveals thy sublime presence. Yes, that sublime presence. Yeah, that even while reading that itself, we can feel that sublime presence. Yeah, this is it. Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chitra ji.
Yeah.
Great. So, who wants to share next? Swapna, are you ready? You want to share?
Hi, Monica,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yes.
I don't actually have much to say.
Yeah. So
I
just
think.
share however little you have. That would be really nice.
Okay. I think what I noticed about it is it like points the way, as in it's like a compass point for the times when I feel if not haste, if not haste, then there's like the pulling. She's sometimes referred to that. Another prayer that we've looked at. So it's like those times in me where there's a kind of desperation or a calling that's so earnest that it's like a pulling. So instead here it's a compass point in pointing out that it's how she does it, how the Divine Mother herself saying, without haste, without inquietude. That's something that's meaningful to me. And yes, also this question, I guess, about how shall all these attachments disappear? It's like seems at like from a human point of view, it just seems so impossible, because at times it seems, even when I think some situation or a person doesn't have it, I don't have an attachment to it. It's only if there's a risk to losing it, or there's a withdrawal somehow, or an apparent ending, then I realize like there was an attachment. It's a small thing or a big thing. So also, yeah, a wonderful question to just surrender. And then I guess, yes, once again, that pointer or the radar compass, being like, thou alone are the doer. Just reminders really of how it truly is, and how to truly, the right attitude. And yes, the nice reassurance that Mother's so good at giving, and when the instrument is ready for a complete manifestation, the manifestation will quite naturally take place. So yeah, I guess I hear that as those times when I think, well, it's never happening this lifetime. I have a few more lifetimes to go. And then it's just that quiet voice that goes, who knows? How does one even, there's, I think, many places that both Mother and Sherbet though indicate that one can't ever know what's happening inside another, or oneself for that matter. So yeah, just to also just trust enough surrender there. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Swapna. So, yeah, Shweta, do you want to share anything if you have anything right now?
Yeah, I will try to share what I feel.
Yeah, please do.
So, firstly, when I read this for the first time, uh, I felt good, and I just felt so familiar, because I have not read such detailed literature and text of Mother Sri Aurobindo ever. So, but and I thought that I would. I want to know, but maybe I will not understand. So that was my block. But like when you send this mail and I started reading, first time when I read, I just felt this is so familiar. I can relate to this, though word by word I made more sense of it now when everybody just read it and shared their views. That helped me. But yeah, so if I have to read it, like few sentences that I resonated with more is like, uh, I await without haste, without inquietude, the tearing of another wheel. the union made more complete. Yeah, this on day to day life, like I feel I understand this, like like I've said earlier, like back and forth jo movement hota, and then you understand this, like oh my god, this too was an ego trap. So like every day I realize that, oh, okay, another veil tear, tone. So that is one thing I related to. I know that the veil is formed of a whole mass of small imperfections of attachments without number. Yeah, this like in continuity, like you again untie, like one more attachment. Like understand, you join the dots. Oh my god, this too, this too was a trap. So I could relate to this, and I found a lot of solace in the lines, like below. I know not, I do not even put to myself the question. I wait, keeping watch as best as I can, in the certitude that nothing exists save thy will, that thou alone art the doer, and I am the instrument. And when the so I am the instrument, and you are, like this gave me a lot of solace to, like uh, uh, have faith, and like understand, because yeah, when you look back, you do understand, what has happened. Like everything has led to more clarity and a better person and a deeper person. So that gives me the faith that yes, in like further engagements also, this is the purpose. And when the instrument is ready for a completed manifestation, the manifestation will quite naturally take place. And yeah, I found a lot of solace and faith in these sentences. And the last paragraph, already there is heard from behind the veil the wordless symphony of gladness that reveals thy sublime presence. uh, I can say that I felt this grace. I have felt this presence, and uh, in between all these experiences and daily life and your contemplations, you definitely know. I might not be able to articulate this properly, but I can just say that I've definitely felt this sublime presence, this grace. So that's what I could reflect and understand.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Shweta, for sharing. Beautiful. So, yeah, uh, I think it's just grace that we can read these words and relate with them and make use of them for our day to day life, for gaining more clarity, more strength. It's just pure grace, nothing else. So, let us go through once again together, and let us see if there is something more that comes up one by one line. So I await without haste. So first of all, I was wondering, that who would say this? A person who is very happy with the attachments, and while no one can be really happy with the living with attachment, but let's say that I am suffering and I have attachments. That's why I am suffering in life. But I have made suffering into a day-to-day part of my existence. It's not really something which I want to gain a deeper clarity through. Yeah. So then I would not aspire in such a form where mother is aspiring. This aspiration comes from a state that yes, I see that there is suffering in my life, there is emotional pain and imperfections, and yet there is a yearning within the being which says that I can be at a better place, I can be at a better place. So I actually wonder that uh, I wonder that there would be no human being who does not crave for being at a better place when one is suffering, when one is suffering, when one is in pain. Although our ways of finding solace may be distorted, one may just find solace by smoking a cigarette. Those temporary kind of a solace may be suffice for some time. But then there is a time in our lives when we are ready for the deeper kind of a aspiration, that yes, acknowledging first of all that there is a suffering in life, also acknowledging that there is something more that life has in store for me. This cannot be it. Suffering cannot be the end of life. Yeah. And from there, Knowing, so a part of me knows my higher possibility. Otherwise, why the aspiration will arise for peace and clarity in the very first place? So a part of me, which may not be a very conscious part, knows very well that I can live a deeper and a higher life. This is not all the life that I am living. And that's why we are never satisfied or content living a life lived in attachments and suffering and pain. You know, we always want to crave for a deeper clarity. So there, though, from those depths, I felt that this prayer is rising, that yes, the union is yet not complete, and I want it to be complete. I know that this can be completed. Yeah, so there is a knowing within the being. I await without haste, without inquietude. Now, why would I await without haste? Because I have already seen the trauma of haste. You know, only then I would get convinced that haste does not do any good. So our failures, where we have really done actions in haste and inquietude and restlessness, haven't we seen that those failures have given us more conviction that that is not the way? So those failures cannot be truly called as failures. You know, appearances deceive. Although there I fell down owing to my restlessness. But now the state where I am in right now, as Chitra ji was sharing, Jyotsna ji was sharing, that more and more it becomes clear that that restlessness is not the way. That restlessness is not the way. How do you know that? How are you convinced? Because you have been there, done that. Been there, fallen on your nose several times. Only then you are convinced that that is not the way. Yeah, so this is very interesting, because otherwise one sees that if a person is aggressive, you know, कि उसका कुछ हो नहीं सकता, nothing can happen, but उसका भी हो सकता है, you know, when the divine will pervades each and every grain of existence, उसका भी कुछ हो सकता है, because after many aggressive episodes, I will realize that it is doing me more harm than good if I'm sensitive enough. And there is this whole bundle of life energy within us, which if not put to proper use, it becomes restless. It wants to go out in form of the vital emotional energy, wants to control people, their behavior, their movements, wants to fix things in outer situations. That is all a result of this restless abundance of energy, life energy within us. Now, slowly as we grow on this path, I think we have to also develop in ourselves a strength, a capacity, so that that life energy can be put on hold. It requires a lot of energy if I want to contain the life energy within myself. Imagine that there is a furnace. Now, a furnace will burn to ash if it is made of paper. It cannot be a furnace. But a furnace will keep on burning for a longer time if the furnace is very strong. If it's made of stone, for example, if its walls are very thick and resilient. So that is the task ascribed to us as human beings. This is the journey that we have to undertake, that first realize that yes, there is this life energy, full of energy, that wants to again and again go out and wants to control the external situations and people. And there we fall upon our nose again and again. Yeah. Then I come back to myself and I see that, okay, what do I do with this life energy? And slowly, being self-absorbed, I try to contain the life energy within me. And when the right moment arrives, the life energy is put to proper use. Yeah, I according to my swabhava, my nature, my natural tendencies, that life energy will be put to proper use. I will be internally guided where it has to go. But more often than not, why we fall again and again on our nose, which is again a process of human existence, nothing bad with that, because we get convinced that this is not the way. Why we do that? Because the life energy cannot be contained in us, because we are not strong yet enough. Yeah, and slowly we gather that much of strength, as if the walls of the furnace are gathering more and more strength, so that the fire that we are, the creative energy that we are, it can stay within when required, and then go out and deploy itself when it is necessary. Yeah, so that's how the quietude comes in the being. You realize that again and again throwing yourself out is not the way. I await without haste, without inquietude, the tearing of another veil. Now, there is a knowing that all these ignorance that I am blinded again and again, it is just a veil. There is a knowing. I think Shweta shared beautifully that, these are little attachments. And what are attachments? I'm not even aware of. Swapna shared that when it happens, when something happens in life, so when maybe something is taken away from me, and how I react to that situation, then only I realize, oh my God, I was attached. No, I did not even know that I was attached. Yeah. And slowly through all these life experiences, we get to know our soft or blind spots, which are attachments. So a real sadhak would say, okay, bring it on. Okay, take away everything from me, that as much as you can, kind of inviting the blow of Mahakali, according to mother's words. But mother says that why it does not happen more often, because we don't have that much of strength that we can take all the blows at once. Yeah. So blows comes very gradually, very slowly in our life, so that we can take them. If all the blows come at once, although that would be good for us, but it may shatter us, because I'm not yet powerful enough, strong enough. So slowly, as I grow on this path of life, on the path of yoga, we realize that all these attachments are there, and I'm sticking, my self-worth, my self-completion is sticking to those external dots. I'm not yet complete onto myself. I need this person in my life. I need that person in my life. Everything else is needed in my life. I need food in my life. Everything in my life is needed in order for me to be okay. Can I be just okay without things being there or not being there? Just like, we take this reference of prasad. How do we get prasad? We just get it. Divine grace is there, we just get it. But then what happens once I taste a prasad? The mind comes in the picture and it says, I want more, I want more, I want more. Even meditative experiences, spiritual experiences, again, that thing happens. So the experience came to you just like that. It just came out of a factor of grace. But the mind comes in the picture and it says, okay, that happened with me once, so I am entitled to have it again. Why not it happening again? And desire comes in the picture. And when desire is there, we are just doomed to suffering whenever a desire is there. Like that, desire for worldly uh, things. A desire for divine will make us go far on the path. But a desire for worldly people, situations, relationships, that just puts us into more and more trouble. Yeah. So again, there has to be a balance there. If it's giving me too much of trouble, better to just keep it at bay for some time. Yeah. So I know that the veil, and please, I'll take up questions and doubts whenever you have, unmute and share. I know that the veil is formed of a whole mass of imperfections. And as some of you were sharing, we don't even know what all is there that we are attached to, and how many innumerable imperfections are there in the being. And how do I get to know? Whenever I fall in my life, whenever I fall on my nose, whenever I have an ego trap being shown to me, there I know that imperfection was hiding. So it's good that those ugly things come up, because if they do not come up, how would they get cleaned? Mother, when she would go to sadhak's rooms, she would say that, do not show me the bestest place, show me your darkest cupboard, so that it can be cleaned. And if we are afraid of showing our darknesses, then how can it be cleaned? Because many a times it happens that if I am on the spiritual path, everything is okay with me. No, it can never happen. As a human being, it can never happen. It's only through our imperfections that we go to perfections. It's only through our darknesses that we find light. So no one is ever absolutely pure. No one, excluding none. And we have here in front of us, giving us solace, prayer by Mother herself, who is the Divine Mother herself. Now she is talking that I see that imperfections are there in my being. Now why to beat ourselves on the head again and again that oh my God, this imperfection is still there, still there. So mother shares that whenever an imperfection or a weakness arises in the being, just look at it, do anything that is needed to correct it, and move on. Dust your pants and move on. Do not spend too much of time on being ashamed and being in guilt that, oh my God, I'm doing such a big task, and how can I have imperfections? That is again a matter of arrogance. Yeah. Attachments without number. I think for me personally, it puts me back on ground again and again. Every failure that I go through, it just has been so humbling an experience that I am a very, very ordinary human being and very happy to be traveling on this path. So attachments and imperfections can always be taken as stepping stones, and also as things that ground us again and again, give us more connection to the ground reality of our existence. How shall all these disappear? Now she asks this question. When will they disappear? I find myself in this trap, full of ugliness, full of selfish demands, desires. Oh my God, what all I saw outside, all the ugliness that I saw outside in other people. I see that all that exists in me. I am the criminal. I am the terrorist. I have all the tendencies that a criminal may have. So mother is asking, how shall all these disappear? And then she also comforts herself again, slowly, as the result of countless small efforts. Now, this that we do today, or at our personal level that we may be doing, reading a book, communicating with our own higher self, these are countless small efforts. This is what brings us joy. Mother says progress brings us joy. Whenever we are able to take care and look deeply into one little weakness, one little attachment, we are full of joy that something more has been revealed to me about my own self. That brings us joy, countless small efforts. And then the path itself becomes a joyful path, a sunlit path, a path which was earlier full of suffering. Now it becomes a sunlit path. Why? Because now I am ready to look at my own imperfections, my own attachments and ugliness. I'm not shying away from them. So there is a light of consciousness in me which is gaining more and more strength. The light of consciousness with which I see all the imperfections, with which I see all the ugliness and all the fear and doubt and anxieties. Yeah. So slowly, as the result of countless small efforts and a vigilance for not faltering even for a moment. Now, what is this vigilance that mother talk of? Vigilance is that even being aware that I was unaware. We may have been unaware at a moment of time. And then in the next moment, I catch myself. I see that which I did in the past few moments was all coming from my ego and mental rigidity. It was not my true self. So you give yourself a benefit of doubt. You relax into your chair and then you say, okay, what is the right action to be taken if that was not my true self? Because whenever we are in the grip of anger, jealousy, hate, all these unpleasant burning sensations appear in the body, we are not our true self. It's just the enemy, the almost, a separate self living itself through in my body. It is not my true self. It is not my higher possibility in operation. So it is very good whenever I find myself burning or something happens in the being which sways me deeply, very good to take a pause and again settle down in my deeper self and then see, okay, now what action would I take? What would I speak to the other person if I am now okay and in my true senses? Yeah. So again, vigilance, looking at our inner movements, all the microscope that is turned outward, what other people are doing, what other people are saying towards me, all that vigilance has turned inwards, as if the microscope has turned inwards. And you are now aware of each and every movement that goes on in your inner being throughout the day. Now there is a beautiful chance for progress. Now that I'm able to see with this microscopic ability all the movements of my being, each thought does not escape my eye. Whenever a negative thought arises, I see it happening and I immediately transform it. I say, Mother knows the best, she will guide the way. And you see how much of difference it makes in your inner dialogue, in day-to-day life. Because if we check our inner dialogue, we fall because our inner dialogue is making us fall. And if we are aware of these inner movements, we will not allow that inner dialogue to go on in the negativity that it goes on. Immediately, the moment you recognize a negative thought coming on, Mother knows the best, Mother will guide the way. So instead of the inner dialogue, we transform it into an affirmation. And this is suggested by Mother herself, that there is so much power in thought, that if we are able to take care, make use of this power of thought, we can do actually wonders with our health and peace in the being. Yeah. So Mother says that yes, countless small efforts are required, vigilance is required, or suddenly, because hidden forces are so many in nature, how do you know what works for you? Or suddenly, through a greater illumination of thy all puissant love. So you don't even know what may happen, which will just reveal something to you so beautifully, what little efforts were not really able to make it happen for you. Any small illumination, any little uh, act of all powerful love and grace may happen. Who knows when it may happen? Especially I would say that, especially in form of tragedies and traumas in life and in diseases, many a times it happens that we are diagnosed with a chronic illness, a very life threatening disease, and something opens up in our being. So we should not go on face values. For another person, it may be a tragedy. Oh my God, how could it happen to you? You were all healthy a day before. But for you, you know how much of transformation it has brought to your life, being diagnosed with that disease. Yeah. So in what ways it may happen, we have no clue. So many forces are working at once. I know not. And then Mother says, it's utter humility again and again. Mother says, I know not. I don't know how it may happen, but I know it will happen. So that certitude is there, but I don't have any mental opinion of how it may happen. I know not. And I do not even put myself the question. Again, Shweta shared that it is so comforting. It is so comforting that when everything is happening in the divine, there is nothing but the divine in existence, then why do I bother so much? Why do I remain in haste and inquietude? I know not, I do not even put to myself the question, but I wait. I wait, keeping watch as best as I can in the certitude. So waiting is there. I'm not really putting myself question, but a certitude is also there that nothing exists save thy will. Absolutely nothing, and one day before I was wondering on, evil. Now, there is a certain default mechanism that evil, so-called evil and bad, there is a certain default mechanism that is set in nature that if you go too far doing bad deeds, we have example of Ravan, for example, there is a default mechanism that you will actually self-destruct yourself going too far on that way. So there is an auto mechanism that has been set. Ravan, if nobody was able to stop him, he went so far that he self-destructed him, annihilated him, going too far into the evil. So evil also has a auto-destruct, self-destruct mechanism. And why it is their self-destruct mechanism? Because divine will is the ultimate will. When we say this, that truth always wins, this is how truth always wins. That yes, freedom is there in existence, free will is there in existence. But if I go too far, making abuse of my free will and doing all the deeds which are not, which are contrary to my nature, true nature or true swabhava, then one day I will auto-destruct myself and put myself to peace. So this is how we know that the divine will is there, right here. We don't have to bother ourselves that much with worries and anxieties and trying to fix all the things in life all the time, and bother us all the time with inquietude and haste. Nothing exists save thy will. So this certitude is there with the Mother in every prayer we see. This certitude is there that thou alone art the doer. and I am the instrument. So if you have to make something happen through me, you will let me know when that task is to be done. Why do I bother myself too much that, oh my God, that has to be done? Yeah. When I am ready, and then in the next line, mother says, when the instrument is ready for a completer and a better manifestation, the manifestation will quite naturally take place. Now, what is the manifestation? Manifestation is any act in the material world, any kind of action that we undertake, any kind of word of, like through speech, through communication, or through our actions, through our daily day-to-day life, any action that we enter into, that is manifestation. So we often wonder about, oh my God, if I don't talk to that person, then things are going to be really bad, and then we stress about ourselves about that. So mother is saying that in without haste and without inquietude, when I self-absorb myself in your remembrance, knowing that nothing exists but you and your will, then whenever the right action needs to be taken, I am guided. It is very effortless, then the right action. Yeah. So I need not bother myself that, oh my God, this action has to be taken. Because when I am ready from inside, I am automatically guided to the right action, right speech, right communication. I need not go through really, falling on my nose again and again whenever I do action out of haste and inquietude. Although having said that, even falling on my nose also gives me an experience in life, and I learn through that. So no experience goes waste, such as the all efficient divine. No experience goes waste. So whether I do it in haste, I realize after my failures that haste was not the way, but haste has taught me something. Yeah. My failures have taught me something. They have taught me the beauty of self-absorption. They have taught me the beauty of containing life energy in me. Yeah. Without those failures, I would not have known truly that it is a bliss to be self-absorbed like a flower. Yeah. So all as in Savitri, that line comes to me again and again, that the supreme diplomat makes use of each failure, and each failure is used for a greater rise. I'm just requoting the line, not exact lines, I don't remember. Yeah. And then mother reveals, already there is heard from behind the veil the wordless symphony. Wordless, it does not articulate itself into words, but you feel a gladness in the being. You feel that somewhere there is a rest, somewhere that things are taken care of. Although when we are in the surface consciousness, we may get excited and furious at times, but there is also a gladness when we sink into the depth of our being, that you are there, I am taken care of. As many of you, most of you shared, that gladness reveals that all is well. All is well. No matter the outer experience, outer circumstances may show that something is wrong, but yet all is well, because something is operating which knows more than me, than my little conscious window that I am operating from. And in again, in Life Divine also, Sri Aurobindo writes that what we know of ourselves is as if just the tip of the iceberg. Rest of our part we are not even aware of. So the whole huge mountain of our being that we are not conscious of our powers, we are not conscious of our true essence. And that's why when we are only there in the surface consciousness, then we suffer, because it is just a little window that is open to us, which does not show the full picture. Yeah. And then we suffer because uh, we do not come to rest when we are having just a little window. So the more and more time should also be spent in kind of, in self absorption. And again, using words of Sri Aurobindo, and I thought I'll an experiment that I was doing with my own self, just close your eyes for a moment, look inside your body. Close your eyes for a moment and look inside your body, as if you're looking inside the darkness that is there in the body. It may be just all black there. And know that each particle is full of space. Each particle cannot live exist without space being there. Yeah. And that space is divinity. That space is our higher truth. There is where I need to again and again anchor myself. So look inside ourselves and look at each and every particle in my being is vibrating with divine presence. And that space that is there, that ether that is there, subtle presence that is there, it is full of our higher self, our higher possibilities. And that is where we should anchor ourselves again and again, rather than anchoring ourselves in outer ups and downs of emotions and thoughts and moods and movements, because there we will always be restless. So if I identify myself with the thoughts, with the movements of emotions, I will always have restlessness. But if I identify myself, know myself as that inner space, that all present divinity, all present space, because space is something which you cannot say that here space is not. Even black holes exist in space. Yeah. So that space can be corroborated or equaled or paralleled to as divine presence. And there is where we have to anchor ourselves to be self-absorbed. Again, just sharing one of the experiments that I was doing, coming from words of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. So anything more on this prayer that we have read?
And I feel that waiting also, no, for the manifestation, you should have that, I mean, that inner joy and enthusiasm to wait, no? Actually, I felt like that when you are explaining. I felt I had that feeling actually. When you wait, yeah, because the more of, I mean, not of dryness or that feeling, whether, yeah, whether what we will get, that dryness should not be there, but that real joy and enthusiasm should be there, while even if you wait for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Chitraji, about dryness,
Yeah.
I think I read something from Letters on Yoga, where he says that dryness may exist for some time, like in transition.
Yeah.
May experience dryness, but that is not the absolute truth.
Yeah.
So as you are sharing this joy that comes from being on the path, I think that joy is a side effect, that if you're actually making use of all your challenges and failures in order to gain deeper clarity and know yourself better, it is absolute a side effect, byproduct of that walking on the path, that the joy will absolutely be there. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's also very beautiful. The last you asked us to meditate for small time. No, it is very beautiful. Actually.
Thank
you. Monica, I was thinking about what you were saying about how when we are caught up in something that seems like a weakness or, not of the divine, such as anger or rage or jealousy or irritation, something like that. And it seems like that then the link of how to get out, because I'll know intellectually, like that's not the space that would that I want to be in, or that's my true self yet, but it can be so powerful or can hook me. Yeah. And then it seems the energy of the space, where you like the meditation, that seems to contain the energy or the help in how to let go. Because like the particles contained in that space was so beautiful, because then automatically somehow there's no Velcro or hooks. Yeah.
So Swapna, when we are in these sensations, take it, maybe anger, desire, greed, lust, expectations, demands, and which are a part of our ordinary human existence. And these are the stepping stones, I would say. None of these are anti-divine in nature. These are stepping stones, and that is why Mother and Sri Aurobindo share that as souls, we took this adventure from darkness to light. So call anger as darkness, call greed as darkness. And we have to turn it into light. We have to make use of these stepping stones and make them into, make our life into more deeper life and a life full of clarity by making use of these anger and greed and lust, name it. Now you are saying that when we are there, then actually it feels very dark, and one does not, one does not know how to pull oneself out at many, many occasions when one is overwhelmed by that movement. Now, in all of the movements, there is one thing which is very common. The common thing is that there is something I am wanting, that if that thing happens, only then contentment and happiness will be there. It may be a relationship, it may be a job, it may be an issue in outer life that I am dealing with, it may be a family or anything, name it, anything in external life situation. So the premise that I am taking in that movement is that when that happens, then only I will be content and happy. There is where I get stuck up. Now one has to lose all the hope. All the hope has to be lost that nothing can give me contentment and happiness but this self-absorption. And giving my trust, absolute faith in the divine, and walking from that inner contentment and inner happiness. Now, when I walk the path of life with this inner contentment and inner happiness, then I will not be able to stick to any relationship, to any person, to any situation, because now my contentment and happiness is not dependent on that going my way. Why I remain in anger for more time? Because I have still a hope. Why I remain in greed and desire for a long time? Because I have still a hope that when that happens in external life, when that happens according to my belief, then only contentment and happiness will arise. Now, this is a false belief. Why this is a false belief? That because if we look at logistics or even statistics of our human life, we are 30s and 40s, 50s, 60s. Yeah. Haven't we satisfied so many desires? Haven't the life gone in our way many times? But are we now content and happy? No. So there is no end to this beggar tendency within us. And that's where, out of our own failures, we realize that the best possible way is to find absolute contentment and joy within self-absorption, giving all the onus to the divine within. And now being content and happy with the divine, not wanting anything from life. How will I like to live life? Now this begins a new path for me. This is a life not coming from incompletion, wanting to be complete. This is a life coming from an inner fulfillment, inner joy, and yet there are things to be done in life. Yeah, owing to the joy that you will spill around when you will walk the path. That when mother is walking this path, she is spilling out so much for all of us. Yeah. So this is how a new life can begin, that I have had enough taste of anger, jealousy, hate, and all of these are based on separation. Anger is based on separation. I am different from the other person. Hate, jealousy is based on separation. Ill will is based on separation. All the work of ego. Desire is based on separation again. That I desire for something separate than me so that I can be fulfilled. So ending of the separation, or at least recognition of separation, and beginning of a new life where I do not need anything but the divine within for my completion. Now this is beautiful. Now this is something which is extraordinary, and here is where our true individuality, psychic individuality, comes forward. That now, knowing that nothing can be given to you, no contentment, no happiness can be given to you from outside situations, how will you begin to live a new kind of a life? This is where our true uniqueness, mother says that everyone is a genius, everyone is unique. Now I can find out in what ways I want to spill out my fragrance, not wantingly, manipulatingly, but I have no other way to live. That is where we are unique. Yeah. So that is also our possibility, and that is our
I
birth.
have,
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, so I have a question. So, when I try to understand, Monica, what you're saying, I understand it. But if I have to try applying it from, this moment itself, uh, there's something that, feels like, okay, I'm trying. It doesn't come naturally, like if I have to find this, giving up. I understand it, I feel it, but more, like for a day or two, I'll feel charged also. But slowly I get back to the basic, I mean, sensory needs, like eating sweets and so many
Right.
things, small desires, like they give comfort. So how do you, like just help
Yeah.
yourself really work on it?
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, Shweta, there are no set images about this new life. So maybe this one image that came to you, that maybe I have to give up the sweets. So there is no such image of this new life. The new life is an unfoldment, right? It's not a life of a ascetic where you are not allowed to touch sweets, or you are not allowed to talk to people if you meet them
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
way.
I get that. I'm just talking about the high I get, again, it is
Yeah,
very materialistic. It's just,
yeah,
the sensory high, that,
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Then again, you are back to that grill, no? That's what I
Yes,
meant.
absolutely with you. Now, the thing that you are saying, that it does not come naturally. Now, imagine that a person has been born with chains in his hands. See, so the moment I was born,
Hmm.
somebody put chains in my hands,
Hmm.
and that is how I have been living for 50 years of my life. Okay, so now I
Hmm.
am 50. Now someone comes to
Hmm.
me and it says that, oh my God, these are chains that you are wearing. Why are you wearing them? And I look at those chains and I say that, really, are they not part of my body? Because I have not been used to live without them. Now, the first time that person shows me how to open it, don't you think I will feel a bit weird without them?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I will not feel natural without them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing that you are sharing, that beginning on this new kind of life, which is more self-absorbed and guided from the deeper, level. It may appear unnatural. It may appear unnatural only because old habits die hard.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I have
Yeah. So
not.
I need some support. I mean, I need some help there. So what is that help?
What? Sorry, say it again.
Sorry, like I feel ki, see, I understand it, I want to take it forward, but my material needs have a deep conditioning, right? Like like basic things like joys, like I said, sweets and ye choti moti cheeze, ye to abhi I understand better, and I want to walk this path, and many a times I've started, but then gradually I, so what will help me, like so, like like there's a saying, fake it till you get it, and also do you
Yeah.
like continuously say it or push yourself, or is it
Uh,
that way, like
okay.
even.
So, first of all, one thing has been said, again, quoting Kabir ji's words, "Dheere dheere re mana, dheere sab kuch hoye, mali सींचे सौ घड़ा ऋतु आए फल होए." So I think in the very first prayer that we discussed today, we talked about no pushing, no haste, no inquietude, because pushing will also come into haste. Yeah, that as if I want to
Hmm.
reach somewhere, and I'm not there. So first of all, this
Hmm. Hmm.
this kind of contentment and certitude has to be there, that if I was supposed to be somewhere, I would be there, right? But if I am
Hmm.
right now here, then there is a purpose for me being here. So
Hmm.
immediately a relaxation comes in the being. That
Right.
I'm not anywhere where I should not be. No, if the veils of ignorance have to be completely shed, I don't have to run a marathon in one day. Marathon needs a preparation of years, and days and days. So one has to be very, very gentle with oneself, very gentle, because in any haste, in any rush, in order to be somewhere, you will just almost do an atrocity on yourself. Yeah, so just we have to continuously tell ourselves that we are where we are supposed to be. If we were
And at the same
at
time,
the same time,
yeah, huh.
yeah,
At the same time, we have to like remind ourselves of what like we understand better. Maybe we're
you
not ready because of a
exactly.
conditioning, but yeah, we have to remind, right? Like,
Bilkul,
huh.
bilkul. So at the same time, we also have to see that, how do you know that what is which side of life or which path would you take? You would know. You would feel
Right.
relaxed there. You would feel deeper. You would feel better, and you would be guided from within which path in life is to be taken. So this is how inner guidance would work. And wherever you are feeling very uncomfortable, you are feeling that as if, I need to take a break, then take a break. Rest with yourself, because these are things, very, very individual things, and no one can have a formula towards truth or, a greater union. There is no one formula that would work for all of us. Yeah. So one needs
Thank
to
you
be
so
very,
much.
very gentle here. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. Yeah, Jyotsna ji, please. Yeah.
I feel when Swapna was talking also, and when Shweta was talking, one thing that helped me on a basic level when I began on the path was, what I learned was the golden word surrender. You are in a quandary, you're in a catch-22 situation, you are craving something, there's a desire, you surrender it to mother and say, Ma, you just help me get through this. I can't do it by myself. 11 out of 10 times it is sorted always, and the correct answer comes, provided we have the ears to listen and the heart to open. But it does come when you give it up to them, each time voluntarily, very in be awake and surrender it. Every relationship or event or whatever it is, where we lack is that we don't surrender enough. We hold back. But if we truly surrender, I think we get answers. I know we get answers for sure. Try it.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree because when I go back and see whenever I've surrendered or like just left it to God, like I've been able to handle it better. Yeah, thank you so much.
I've gone through a lot of catch-22 situations in my life, and I have each time found it. They were like, I felt like, oh, I know it all. I can take this decision. But I said, no, I will not take any decision. I will surrender it. Whatever answer comes, I'm ready. And the right answers came, and they were the best.
Yeah,
Though we may not accept it at that time, but I feel they are the best, and they will, so in time to come, it proves to be the best.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Many a times, I would share my experience with one of the tendencies that I observed in myself. And there was this tendency, and I would note it coming, it rising up. And actually, I was tired of that tendency. I was tired of it coming again and again. And and whenever it came, that tendency, whenever it came, it like swayed me away. I kind of followed its dictates, and whenever I followed its dictates, I landed up in more trouble and a messed up mental state, lost my mental peace. So when I was really going through a very tumultuous time owing to a few tendencies, I remember one day I was washing dishes, again during this lockdown period only. And um, the last year it was, I remember very, very clearly what happened. And I said that tendency again came to me. And now I was so tired with this tendency. I said, I actually was just remembering the mother, and I said, Mother, this has come up again. As Josna ji was sharing, surrender. And I actually did nothing about that tendency. I took no action about that tendency, whether I should follow the dictate, not follow the dictate. I actually played dead to that tendency. And that tendency could be one tendency, or it could be, say, desire. It could be a ripple of anger. It could be a ripple of expectation from someone. And the moment it arose in me, I actually played dead to it as if I do not exist. And I gave it to the mother. I said, Mother, I am not going to act according to its dictates. And that was the day. And I remember that it was such a revelatory experience, such a relaxing experience for me, that I do not have to do anything about satisfying the tendency or desire, or, making action according to what anger wants me to make. And then it really, as Josna ji and others were sharing, that whatever then it is taken or not taken is a decision which has a larger vision, which can see more than what our limited eyes can see. And always it turns out that if we are able to put our step back in that situation and not take a decision or say words out in haste, always, although at that moment it's very, very hard, because it's like, a burning life energy wants to go out of you, but you want it, you completely absorb it, and you put it inside you. So in that moment you are going through a bit of discomfort. It's not completely effortless, it's not really natural, but that this discomfort of putting back that vital emotional energy into you in self absorption is the best way that things can go ahead, and the divine will can take over. So yeah, again, it does not come effortlessly. The effort has to be put, because the older patterns that we are living with, only those can go effortlessly. And whenever a new thing has to emerge, effort has to be put. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I absolutely get that. Yeah. The thing is the effort part, right? Because I get it, I've got it always, but and I've been able to follow it also. But then, you go back to your tendencies. So that is where I think, yeah, we have to continuously keep putting effort, is what I get.
Absolutely. And the example that I give here is almost our tendencies and patterns of thinking and behaving. They are like a ball which has been, running for centuries. Now the ball has gotten a momentum, what goes in physics, momentum. Now,
Yes.
for the ball to be able to completely stop and come to a halt, it would require a lot of effort and on our part, so that the ball completely comes to a halt, and we are not run by tendencies anymore, but our true nature. And that's where effort comes into picture. Only because old habits die hard. They will come up again and again in different degrees, in different forms, and we will have to be vigilant to see them and then work with them. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. They come again and again in different forms. I think that is to bring out the, it's almost like carving the diamond out of the stone.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think we feel we've arrived, and again, yet something more to, like crush your ego. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very true, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, yeah, okay, what do you think? Shall we take up this second prayer, or if we are not ready for it, we can take it up in the next one also? I can give only next one.
Yes, please
Yeah.
take it up.
Sorry?
Yes,
We should take it up.
take
Okay.
it up.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Also,
Great. Perfect. So who wants to share first about this prayer?
Actually, I felt, when I read this prayer very simply, Mother, she has taken the earth on her actually. Like a child, she's embracing the earth and she's consoling the earth in this struggling time. This picture came to me when I read this prayer. Yeah, that is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing when mother shares that these are very tough times. And this, she said, years ago, and years ago also were tough times, and these are also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to share on this prayer?
And also, I felt the continuity in this prayer. From the first line, no, thy voice is heard as a melodious chant. Yeah, that previous prayer end with the same type of thing, no?
Yes.
That sublime presence with a glad note. Yeah,
Beautiful.
I
Yes.
felt that continuity.
I felt the same, that there is a continuity in the from the first to the second prayer, and the way she's consoling Mother Earth at 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 each, with each example, each renewal of season, and what seems ugly, and she's sort of cajoling Mother Earth that everything is going to be okay and you take courage, everything will be fine. I feel she's telling us in a way that, you know, believe in the ultimate power and everything will take shape properly. I feel um, it is a subtle reminder to all of humanity, all of us, that we have to take courage and everything will be okay.
Yeah, beautiful. So, anyone else on this prayer, February 5, 1913?
I feel that it just makes me reflect more on, how judgmental I am. How much ever I say that I am not, and, like what I think as a path to, like divine is just so, everything beautiful. Here it makes me feel very humble because, like it just says these lines where it says, and what seems to thee joyous, what seems to thee ugly, and what seems to thee beautiful, all infallibly lead thee towards me, who am endless peace, shadowless light, perfect harmony, certitude, rest, and supreme blessedness. Like, I feel as a human being, I still tend to label and, like judge everything around, whereas everything is, directing me to that divine path only. That's what I can, understand.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely. Also, whenever we go through these undivine, so-called not divine, whenever we talk about anger, greed, hatred, jealousy, all these unpleasant sensations, immediately one thing that we say is that many a times it appears that that is not divine in nature. Now, if one can actually question on this, that if that is not divine, then it means that there is something exists other than the divine. But how is that a possibility when all that exists is the divine? Then is it, how can it be true that anger, greed, lust, there must be something which we are missing there? Yeah, and there becomes that when again and again Sri Aurobindo and Mother, when they say that the path of human life is from darkness to light. So the darkness has been created as if, you know, the darkness has been created as if maybe for a play, and uh, giving us a challenge that can you now find light in this darkness? And when I say, can you, now it is the divine trying to find the light in the darkness. There is nothing but the divine. So when we put ourselves in the picture that okay, hoga divine ka khel, hogi divine ki leela, but hame क्यों फंसा दिया? But then again the question comes into picture that if the only thing that is there is the divine, then it's divine's ball game going on. Where do I come into picture? The divine suffers, the divine participates, the divine progresses, and the divine goes on with the game. Now, where do I come into the picture? And the moment I come into the picture, I suffer, you know. So again, you know, so many discussions can be on this topic, that if all is divine, then every darkness, and again we read in Savitri also that when Savitri is talking with the Lord of Death, you know, and the facade that it is wearing, it lets it off that God of Death is not really Lord of Death. It's just a facade that is wearing, you know. And it is, although appearing ugly in nature, appearing very, very threatening in nature, but there is something more behind that facade, you know. And that again gives us so much of solace, that all our darknesses, all our challenges are nothing but something needs to be find out, digging deeper into those challenges with the light of consciousness that all of us have been granted with. Yeah. Yeah. So anything more, Swapna, you want to share something?
I'm quite happy listening. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to read something from Sri Aurobindo here on the prayers of the mother. And somebody asked Sri Aurobindo that how are we to understand these communications from the divine to the divine? Because when you say that mother is the divine mother, now she is addressing the divine. So how are we to understand this? When this question was posed to Sri Aurobindo in 1936, he offered an explanation, and I'm just going to read this explanation. The prayers are mostly written in an identification with the earth consciousness. So the dark, the consciousness which is full of ignorance. And mother has identified herself with the dark cloud and not the blue sky when she is writing the prayer. Yeah. So the prayers are mostly written in an identification with the earth consciousness, because if mother would not identify with the dark clouds of emotions and all the tumults that we go through, then how would we know that how are we to progress through this, right? So now when you have gone through a dark challenge in your life, then you can talk to the other person and guide him, for example, how to go through a dark challenge. And that is what mother is doing, that although she is a divine mother, she is the divine mother, she is the Shakti, she is the consciousness force that inhabits the whole existence, but she has to identify with that little cloud of anger, greed, and you know, these darker movements, so that she can give us a key to human beings how to go ahead. Yeah. So prayers are mostly written in an identification with the earth consciousness. It is the mother in the lower nature addressing the mother in the higher nature. The mother herself carrying on the sadhana of the earth consciousness for the transformation, praying to herself above, from whom the forces of transformation come. You know, so when we talk about the lower self and the higher self, you know, even when we talk about Bhagavad Gita, you know, we talk about that Arjun is the lower self, which is confused and, you know, wants guidance from the higher self, which is also a part of our being, the you know, Krishna or the Lord. This continues till the identification of earth consciousness and the higher consciousness is effective. So the union is a long journey. The whole complete union is a long journey. This continues. It is the divine who is always referred to as the thou. You know, when mother refers to as thou with capital T, there is the mother who is carrying on the sadhana and the divine mother, both being one, but in different poises, and both turn to the divine or the master. So this is what Sri Aurobindo has to say when, you know, we think about it, that if it is the divine mother herself, then why would she pray? Why would she fall into ignorance? But she has to identify with the ignorance, because ignorance is also a function of the divine. So the divine can either be identified with the ignorance at one point of time, completely limited, and then so that he can find out a way how to be more complete in the union that we were talking of in the previous prayer, for example. So this is our journey as human beings, that we get identified to the little movements, the darker movements of our, the ups and downs of our life. And then slowly through those ups and downs of our life, if we are interested, if we are inclined, then we also gain a deeper clarity into the whole of our existence. Why are we there? Who am I truly? And what is the purpose of my human existence? Yeah. So I'll just go through these lines once and then we can see what's there, which is not yet addressed. Thy voice is heard as a melodious chant in the stillness of my heart. So that gladness, as you were sharing, is continuing. It's a complete, a kind of a self-absorption. Mother is absolutely contented being with herself, being in communion with the deeper self, and is translated in my head by words which are inadequate and yet replete with thee. And these words are addressed to the earth and say to her. So when I am completely in union, when I am very glad in certitude that yes, the divine is present with me 24/7, but I also see that ignorance is also present. I also see that the humankind is going through suffering. All of us are going through suffering. So I cannot exclude that. I cannot evade that. And then this comes out. Poor, sorrowful earth, remember that I am present in thee and lose not hope. Each effort, each grief, each joy and each pang, each call of thy heart, each aspiration of thy soul, each renewal of thy seasons, all without exception, what seems to thee sorrowful and what seems to thee joyous, both, both, taking up both sorrows and joys, what seems to thee ugly and what seems to thee beautiful, all all infallibly lead thee towards me. Now there is no option but to go towards the divine, whether we go through infinite number of failures or whether we straighten ourselves up and have this much amount of failures and then collaborate with the divine. Does not matter. The path is one, the destination is one. Infallibly lead thee towards me, whether in this lifetime or the another lifetime, does not matter. So for eternity, for the divine, it does not matter, but for the human being it matters. Why it matters? Because I suffer. I suffer when I am ignorance, when I am identified with the dark clouds in my being, I suffer. So for the human being, it matters. But for the eternity, there is umpteen number of lifetimes. You can take a birth again and go through that process again of complete union with the divine. So there is no hurry. But for the one who is in pain, for the one who is suffering, for the ego who is suffering, there the urgency is there. Yeah. Who am. So what seems to the beautiful, what seems to the ugly, all infallibly lead thee towards me, who am endless peace, shadowless light, perfect harmony, certitude, rest, supreme blessedness. So Mother is describing almost the qualities of that union, of that divine, absolute divine consciousness. Endless peace, shadowless light. There is no shadows, there is no darkness when you are identified truly with the divine consciousness. Perfect harmony. And we crave for harmony in our workplace, relationships, family. We crave for harmony. And how is that harmony to become? It will only come when I identify myself more and more with increasing degrees in that higher consciousness, the divine consciousness. Certitude, rest, supreme blessedness. Only there the rest is to be found. Hearken, O earth, to the sublime voice that arises. Hearken and take new courage. So do not get almost, like it's almost like a prayer of consolation, that whenever we are going through challenges in our life, suffering and emotional pain in our life, do not get depressed, because even the suffering has waved the path for so many of us, and it will crave a path for us also. And then again, I've shared this again and again many a times, and I would like to share this again with you, that how living light was brought into existence, and how it came into all the sessions became operational. It was only after a deep amount of suffering, and how the suffering paved a path for us, that we entered into taking the charge that yes, this is very, very important. And if this can happen for us, that suffering can pave a path for me, then why can suffering do not cannot bring a greater light for all of us? So suffering, we should not be running away from suffering. We should be with the suffering and try to understand it, where it wants to direct me towards, because suffering is nothing but a signal that something lies unattended, unheeded, and that has to be attended. Yeah. So, and then we can take every challenge towards a beautiful deeper light. Yeah, Jyotsna ji, please share.
I feel mother took on this role and this course of action and writing to help us ordinary mortals to identify with it, with each event and each thing she said, because the moment a human being identifies with it, half the problem is already solved, because oh, it's the same as me. Oh, this is what I feel. And once she gave us that identification that I am with the clouds and I'm not just the blue sky, we automatically, having found that identification similar, we started to understand better. And then finally, the conviction comes that yes, this is the way.
Beautiful.
That's what I have always felt, that she took on this earthly role for us.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is absolutely glad that you brought it up. And mother, through all her prayers, and she again and again, tells us that there is also something else possible, that uh, the blue sky is there, the dark cloud is there. And most of the times we just lose the sight or identification, as you were saying, Jyotsna ji, of the blue sky being there. And we are so entangled in the threads of the dark sky that we do not have any other hope and light coming into our life in the midst of that challenge. But then when I take a back seat and I see that, oh my God, I'm able to take a back seat and I can see that these movements are there, but I am not the movements. I am something beyond and far, far greater than those movements. And hence I can also master those movements slowly. That gives us greater courage and strength. Beautiful. Yeah.
And regarding,
gives us a sense.
continue. Yes.
Chitradi, you speak.
No problem. No, as usual, I want to quote some Savitri lines actually regarding the sacrifice of the divine into the earth actually.
Yeah, Chitraji, you are muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It is from page number 141. Actually, Kingdoms of Little Life. These lines are just before creation. Sri Aurobindo brought out these lines very beautifully. As you said, as you explained, exactly those lines. In the enigma of the darkened vast, in the passion and self-loss of the infinite, when all was plunged in the negating void, non-being's night could never have been saved if being had not plunged into the dark, carrying with it its triple mystic cross, invoking in world time the timeless truth, bliss changed to sorrow, knowledge made ignorant, God's force turned into a child. It is from Vedas. Sri Aurobindo very beautifully, these lines, yes. Very beautifully he brought out these lines. How divine force entered into the matter, how everything changed into its opposite. By that sacrifice, it redeems the earth actually. Bliss changed to sorrow, knowledge made ignorant. All these lines are from Vedas actually. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, the story of creation shared by the mother, that
Yeah,
also, you know,
yeah,
clearly demonstrates
yeah.
that we should not be afraid of darkness, because there is some other
Yeah,
story
yeah.
there,
So
you know.
it is here. Bliss changed to sorrow, knowledge made ignorant, God's force turned
Yeah,
into a child's helplessness.
beautiful, beautiful. It gives us so much of, you know, solace and, you know, kind of
Yeah,
strength.
yeah, yeah. I used to read these lines often. If whenever I face any, I mean, anything very contradictory, and I used to read these lines as mantric lines. Actually, yes.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Amazing. So, yeah, Swapna, please go ahead, share.
You know, I've just been curious. I don't know if anyone or you've heard anything around this link, which is from a scientific environmental point of view about our Earth, right? We speak about, or it's spoken that we're in, I think it's the 6th great extinction. You know, there's just so many species every day that are leaving our planet, or in terms of the environment, the load planet Earth at a very physical level, you know, in terms of resources for all of us as a population, the human beings. And yeah, that doesn't seem like it, at least the current manifestation and life as we know it doesn't seem to have forever, right? And I know and firmly believe that the divine and the promise that Mother Sri Aurobindo are speaking of absolutely are. And yet I often wonder and muse about what is the link, because nobody I've heard ever speaks about, you know, what modern science and the environmentalists are saying linked to the yoga. And I just go on faith and go on belief of like, well, whatever were to happen to us as a species, as science is saying, you know, that there's almost inevitably an end, will of course continue. There's never going to be an extinction of life because of divine. Yet I don't know. I do wonder if anyone's ever spoken about it, if any of you've
Very interesting. Very interesting. I think these are questions which truly would not have any absolute answers, Swapna. I think we can just wonder about them, because you know, Mother and Sri Aurobindo have shared that the human race is not the end of evolution of human life, or you know, so according to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, the divine is playing around with forms so that he achieves that kind of a form through all these evolutions of insects, plants, and then humans, and you know, further forms, so that that form uh, shines out the divine in its true beauty. There is nothing veiled. For example, you know, right now the human beings that we are, you know, our spirit is mostly veiled. You know, the shine that we are, the we say that we are divine, but if you look at a person who has committed a crime, where do you see the divine? You cannot see the divine. Yeah, so it is veiled. Now slowly, through these experimentations that the divine does through himself, one is to arrive, and again it has been mentioned in Savitri also, that divine is trying to find a perfect form for itself through all this play, so that that form would not hide the divine light from it. And that's what they call supramental race, or a new race, or something new is to come. And the human beings are only transitional beings, just like dinosaurs came, apes came, you know, Neanderthal man, this man, that man. Human beings are not the end of the divine game, as you were also sharing. So we have to, first of all, I think paradoxically, we have to take ourselves very seriously, and paradoxically we also have to stop ourselves taking so seriously that if we pass on, if we have to die as human race, then that is what has to happen, because the newer races have to arrive, because the divine game goes on forever, you know, until it achieves perfection in form also, in matter also. And this is something which has been actually, again Chitraji would know better, shared in Savitri also, that the divine is playing through all these forms, so that one day a form is achieved which is also a perfect manifestation of its true essence and beauty. So we do not have to take ourselves or our existence so seriously that if we die, what would happen, you know, as if we are so important. We are nothing but how like dinosaurs came or other insects and, breeds came and then they passed on. So, but paradoxically, we also have to take ourselves seriously and maybe collaborate in the divine game in the way that we are, for example, doing, in whatever little ways that we can do. Yeah. Yeah.
In the same canto, again, Shirvindo brought these lines. Actually, I don't know the page number now. The same canto.
Yeah, you just
I think
the lines.
Yeah, lines. I will read out the lines actually. Yeah, as shines a solitary witness star that burns apart, light's lonely sentinel in the drift and teeming of a mindless night, a single thinker in an aimless world, awaiting some tremendous dawn of God. He saw the purpose in the works of time. Even Alokda's beautiful explanation is there for these lines. Ashwapati now cast his glance deep into this vague, uncertain world. His seer vision beholds the purpose that mingles in the flowing stream of life. As a lonely star burns in distant sky, awaiting for the sun to illumine the entire field, he awaits the supramental dawn that does at once justify and fulfill this creation. For this world was made. It is for this that creation awaits. This is the answer, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so anything else? Anyone?
Invigorating session, Monica.
Yeah.
Really.
Thanks to all of us. Yeah, thank you. So thanks for joining, everyone. And
it's beautiful today. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.